Tīkina tura ngā kākano o ngā pihinga mahuri. Pītikitia o ngā tai ora, o ngā tai ao tipu. Kia tipu tōtika, kia tipu whakahihi, kia tipu ki te pai au ki tau mārama. Ngā pūtake kia papatua nuku, ngā wawata kia ranginui. Tēnei te mauri ka whakatata, tēnei te wānanga ka whakakake. Tēnei te ia ka whakamaua, ka whakaputaina ki te pai au. Ki te mārama tangata i aho haumi hui e tae ki e.
Oh, kia ora koutou, no mai, haere mai, or no mai, hoki mai for those returning. Kia ora Donna, thank you for opening for us and for grounding us in a time when it feels like any kind of grounding is precious and valuable. So I really appreciate that. Kōpeni Hagen Takawangoa, some of you we've met heaps of times and some of you are new to this kōrero and this space, so a huge welcome. Really exciting to have you all here for our first conversation of the year. We don't like to rush into things. We wait till March to start these sessions and we go through till November and just give it a break over summertime. And so it's really exciting to land into the first Wednesday of March with you all for these foundations conversations. Some people have been on this journey with us for a couple of years, and for those joining, really exciting to see your faces. This is a conversation that is growing. I'm from the Auckland Co-Design Lab, and we co-host this with all of you, actually, even though you probably, some of you might have thought you're turning up to listen, but it turns out that we're all here having this conversation together. It's primarily a public sector connection and conversation, although we're not exclusive about that, but it really is about helping create a space where for those working in government, we can grapple with some of the questions about what it actually means to give effect to some of the intent that we have around community-led, around equity, intergenerational well-being, around te tiriti, around culturally grounded, place-based, all the things that are emerging for us as critically important for well-being in Aotearoa, but also all the stuff that we really have to learn our way into because public service hasn't necessarily been set up to act in that way historically. So for us, this is a space of talking about changing practice and sharing and hearing from folks who are experimenting and leading and showing us what some of those things look like. It started out with a focus on ethics as a cross-sector, cross-agency conversation around what does good look like when we're working alongside whānau and communities? What are our obligations and responsibilities? How do we express those? What does reciprocity actually look like? What are the challenges for government to show up and be authentic about some of those commitments? Over the last couple of years, it's evolved into a bigger conversation and space really around what we describe as the foundations of practice. So if we really want to take to heart the intent of equity and recreating a more balanced experience in Aotearoa and addressing and working with the history and place of Aotearoa in the Pacific, our history of ongoing colonization, but also the cultural richness and the leadership of tangata whenua. What does that actually look like? And we have to roll way back from tools and techniques and actually really look at some foundational ways of being and doing. And so this conversation that's monthly is now more about what does it mean to learn into that space and hearing from folks that can share their knowledge around that. And lots of the people on this call have been part of that and have shared some of the things that they're doing and trying and learning. The intent is that it's a open space, a learning space, a sharing space for us to connect. And so we try and create that in the conversation. I'm delighted that the person that helps us lead into that this morning and today is Roimata, who is going to share with us. Some of you will have heard her and experienced the conversation of Hautu Waka as a practice. And it just feels very right to start with something that helps us understand about journeying and being and learning together in a really complex context, because that is what we're in now. And for me, Hautu Waka is a massive, deep wisdom of practice, but it's also something that can just help us figure out how to get up and function in the morning, because right now that's actually just something big in itself. And so Roy will take us into the depths of that. But before I hand over to her, I just want to just mihi to everybody that's here and acknowledge the weight of what's going on, and that we're all just kind of figuring that out as we go every day, and every day is a new kind of world for us, and just acknowledge that. And so people just do what they need to do to kind of get through the morning, get through the day. But it's a pleasure to start this Wednesday with you all, and I'll just hand over to Roy to take us on her journey through the journey of Hautu Waka. So kia ora koutou.
Morena tātou e te whānau. Tēnei te mihi mai o Hautu kia koutou, ki rō whare, nau mai haere mai ki wainga nui, ia tātou ki tēnei wahanga a koranga ki konei. Tēnā tātou e te whānau, ko Roimata Taniwha-Paoo Toku ingoa, heuri tēnei no Taniwha-Waka, no Pirongia Maunga, I tipu ake au ki o Tara, kei manu rewa awe e noho ina nei. My name is Roimata. I hail from Te Waka o Tainui, from Pirongia, the best place on the whole wide world. Born and raised in Otara, currently trying to emphasize the word trying to raise my children in Roimata, Manurewa. We're kind of stuck here because we've bought a house here, but that's okay because we like it here anyway. Thank you to Penny and B and the team for giving me this opportunity to take you guys through, have a look at Hautu Waka. Hautu Waka is a framework that we've been working on to help whānau work through complexity. But the thing that's cool about Hautu Waka is it's not just a thing that we've created. It's actually been around since our tupuna came on the waka. And we see snippets of it in different in oral histories, in mōtiatia, in stories, in pūrākau, and in old tarakia. We've been blessed to be able to work with Matua Rereata, and I work quite closely with him, and he's helped us. We've been working together to pull together something so that we can use this framework to help us navigate through complexity. The thing that is pretty cool about Hautu Waka is it helps us do that in our job, but also helps us, we can use it as a mindset framework in our personal lives, in any situation that we find ourselves in. It's so uncanny. Anyway, I hope to give you some kind of insight into that. Today's session will just be a shallow dive. It'll be just a step into the pond of what Hautu Waka is, but we'll start our journey a different way. Once I can get my thing to work. There we go. So Hautu Waka, the premise of Hautu Waka is attunement. And this is attuning to everything that's around you. In a few seconds, we're going to do a 2-minute exercise. And I'll get you to do the exercise. And then after that 2 minutes, we're going to pop you into some breakout groups. In the breakout groups, we want you to share what you've seen, what you've heard, what you've felt. So in the next few seconds, can I please get you to go to a window, go to a door, go to anywhere where you have an outdoor access. And I want you to, for 20 seconds, to look around at your environment. Allow your eyes to see anything and everything. You can see the sky in its most vastness, or you can see the tiny little spider that's creating its web under the blade of grass. For those 20 seconds, just allow your eyes to see. And then I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes, and I want you to hear, feel, and listen to what your eyes missed. Take everything in. Take in the warmth of the sun, but how is it warming your skin? Which parts of your face is it touching? Take note of the breeze. Listen for the birds. Listen to anything. It could even be in my case, the teenagers who are playing these sirens just behind my house. But take note of everything. So once you've done your noticing and your attunement, we'll get you to come back and we'll pop you into the group. So please turn your screens off. Go and do that now. And when you return, please turn your screens back on. There you go. Tēnā tātou, hoki mai. haere mai rā. Go Donna, your turn. Nā moko puna, o te motu. Welcome, people. Please turn your screens on just so that we know that you're there. And we'll prep to get you guys into these breakout rooms. Thank you for doing the exercise of attunement. Please note down your observations and we'll get you to talk about them in your breakout rooms. So when you're in your rooms, I want you to whakawhānau to your people in to your pets in your room. So introduce yourself, talk about your noticings, and then you can share your kōrero. How much time do they have for that, Baruch? Is it 5 minutes?
About 10 minutes, actually. So
10 minutes. So you've got 10 minutes to introduce the rōpū can work together and share your noticings. We ready to go with those? Cool. All right, we're going to check you guys in your rooms, place you guys in your rooms. We'll see you soon. Thank you for taking that time to have a bit of kōrero about what you saw and what you felt and what you heard. One of the learnings that I've just had in the breakout room that I had the fortune to be a part of was the different types of attunement and how different people perceive the same things. And it was quite an experience for me. And just thank you to those who were in my breakout room for being willing to share your sights and your feelings, but to be open to do something that's so different. And thank you all for being willing to do something so different. Can I just please remind you that attuning is done to the environment. Attuning to the environment is done through your own lens, your own knowledge system, and through your own Matauranga. So let's take that thought of attunement into our next piece and delving into Hautu Waka. So as I mentioned earlier, Hautu Waka isn't something that we've created. It's actually a practice. It's a practice that's been used by our tupuna, and they used it as steps and a methodology to help them think about what they need to notice in the world or happening in the environment to help them navigate to here, to get from Hawaii to New Zealand or wherever they landed. So the first state or phase or state is called whakariterite. Let me just move it. So whakariterite is a space of preparation. It's a time where you're preparing your people to take a journey, but you can't take everyone on your waka. You have to leave some of them behind. So you do this, you look to the people to your left, you look to the people to your right, and then you do exactly what we did. You introduce yourself, you get to know them a little bit more, get an understanding of what their skill set might be. Keeping in mind that the people that you select to come on the journey with you, they're also bringing their own story. They're also bringing the people that they have with them in their mind. So they have a particular skill set. This is important as you go on your journey. There's a karakia that says, e kore te manu e rawe ai te koiraira. That's a karakia that's been taught to us by Papa Rereata. And e kore te manu e rawe ai te koiraira is be careful. It's a warning. Be careful for the spotted kōtuku. You'll actually never see one because they don't really exist, but you don't want one. You don't want to see it. It might be an amazing thing to behold in sight, but it's so different that it causes the mind to go, oh, I can't handle this. You don't want those type of people in your waka. You want the people that can see things just a little bit differently, but aren't going to go like and jump right into the water toward the sharks. You want the people that can help paddle your waka ahead with their own knowledge system, with their own skill sets. So whakariterite is around preparing the people on the side of you, people that will be paddling. Whakariterite is also about preparation and preparing the waka. So ensuring that it's resourced with as much kai that you can handle, that you can take, making sure that the kai is not going to make your waka sink, and making sure that you've got enough stuff that you can catch kai as you go. So once your preparation is done, you launch and you have a space, you have an understanding or a purpose of where you're heading. You don't exactly know where you're going yet, but you know where you want to go. So your trajectory is set, your Terawenga is set. Terawenga is your destination or your purpose. Once you've launched off, you venture off into a space of terapunga. This will always be your first state. And this state asks, where are you from? But it's also a space of infinite potential. So you could be launching in the day and end up in the dark. We liken this to a whirlpool that keeps going around and around. You know where you're going to go, don't know how in the world you're going to get there yet, but what you're doing is you're sitting, you're waiting, and you're watching, and you're attuning. You're attuning to your knowledge systems, you're attuning to what you know should be happening in the environment, and you're actually looking for signs that can help you go toward your end goal. So terapunga is a space of infinite potential, but it can also be scary. You've just started off. You don't know where you're going to go. You don't know how you're going to get there. But in this space, you wait and you watch and you listen. In your waiting, watching, and listening, you take note of the signs, the tohu. This is your te kitenga. So on your left here is a space where I acknowledge everything around me. So I acknowledge the ngaru toto, I acknowledge the wind, the Hoeta, and I acknowledge the other wind that I can see just out into the distance, the Haumaangere, and then I also see the set of manu. So those are the tohu that I'm seeing. But when I'm on the waka, I have to also remember I've got other people that I stacked on here that also have their own perspective. So I go over to my mate who's at the back of the waka, and she's seeing different things. She's seeing the fish that are below the sea that are going in the current. She sees the flow of the current. She sees the whai. She also sees the manu that's near and far, but she's also taking notice of the sun and where it is. So te kitenga isn't a space of doing a something yet, not physically. You're still attuning. So you're taking note of the different tohu that is happening in your environment. And once you've done your te kitenga, then you go into the space of, what do we do with those sightings? What do we do with what we just saw? And this is a space of deeper exploration where we think, okay, if I was to follow that wind that we saw offshore, where would it lead me? And if I was to follow those birds, what would they do and where would they take me? And again, with the currents. One of the beautiful things that Papa just reminded me in this whāinga space is when our tupuna were on the waka, they didn't necessarily have to jump in the water to go and look for these tohu and to see where these tohu would take us. There was always a tohunga on board, someone who could do this stuff spiritually. So they could sit, wait and listen, but listen differently to where those birds would be able to take them. So that's also part of your deeper exploration, just to sit, watch and listen. And to figure out where were those tohu that I've highlighted, where would they lead us? So in this one, we've decided that we're going to follow the manu because we think that that manu is going to get us to our end goal, to our Terawenga. And once we've set our sights on Terawenga, so we've followed the manu, and oh my goodness, in our following that one tohu, it's led us to other tohu that we're now noticing. Now it's brought us closer, the manu have brought us closer to the coral reef. The manu have also brought us closer to the sandbars. But what they've also done is we've seen a few of these things, these sharks on the side of it. And my immediate reaction is, these sharks, we need to get out of here. Actually, the person that saw the sharks is saying, no, it's okay. Sharks aren't a bad thing. They're a really good indication that there is kai here. That's why they're there. We're not necessarily the kai, but there's kai in the water, which means that we can eat. So te whiwhinga is a space of doing the mahi to get to where you need to be. So this is a space where you're learning still, but be careful, because Hautu Waka isn't about creating a linear sequence something, a linear sequence thing. It's actually cyclical. It's spherical. And you can start from one point in Te Rapunga and end up at Te Whiwhinga right where we are. But if you were to follow the wrong tohu, that would lead you right back into Terawenga again. Or if you were to follow a different tohu, it could lead you right back into Te Rapunga and then start all over again. But again, it's spherical, so you can go from one to the next to the next. So once you're in your Te Whiwhinga space and you've had a closer look, what you're seeing is your destination. Your destination is in sight. We liken it to being able to see an island, but the island has a bit of a haze in front of it. That is Te Whiwhinga. Your sight is near, your goal is near, but you can't quite grasp it. You have to do a bit of work to get there. So you still have to wade through the storm that you see just in front of the island. You have to wade through those pools, get away from those sharks, all of that stuff. So doing the work to get to where you need to be. And then we, in a space of pumahara, of Terawenga. Now, I'm breaking this word down. Rawe means great. So when a child does something really good, often like we would celebrate, like, yay, you grabbed that you rode your bike, like ka rawe e tama. So well done. So rawe is good. So rawenga is the things that are good. So te rawenga is what are the things that are good that you've done in this journey. So you'll see two pictures here. The first one, your te rawenga can happen when you're on the journey. So this is where you share the tohu, where you share the things that's helped you get to where you are at that time whilst you're already on your journey. You haven't necessarily got there, but you can still share your learnings with other people that are on a journey of their own. Then you can have a rawenga when you get to your destination. So once you're at your space, this is when you share all of your resources. This is when you share the map that you've created, that your people have created on their journey. And the map is filled with all of the tohu that you followed, all of the tohu that you gathered. But now you're going to relinquish that map and give it over to somebody else so that they can take a look at your tohu and they can start their own journey. And you can either start your Hautu Waka journey again, or you leave it for somebody else to take up. So, Whakariterite is your preparation space. Te Rapunga is your space where you're venturing into the unknown. Te Kitenga is you're just sighting. You're just looking for tohu. You're just looking for things that could project your way forward. You're not doing anything about it. You're just looking. Then your whainga is you're being a bit more analytical about it. You're doing a deeper dive. You're doing a bit of research into some of those tohu that emerged. Then your whiwhinga is you followed one tohu or a tohu and you've done a bit of a deeper dive. You've done a bit more research. You've had a closer look. And this could either here, and it's usually here that you end up back here at Te Rapunga, or it projects you forward. So once you've followed your tohu, then you end up at your Terawenga. And Terawenga is your celebration, it's your reflect, it's your space where you acknowledge your tohu. What we're going to do next is put you into some breakout rooms. So this should have said breakout session 1. Oh no, we are in breakout session 2. Well done. So what we want you to think about is, what does terapunga, remember terapunga is the first phase, what does terapunga look, sound, feel, taste, and smell like in your work, in your mahi? So we're going to get you to do that. Just do a bit of self-reflection. Think about how that applies to what you do. And then we're going to put you into the breakout rooms for about 10 minutes. You can have a bit of discussion and share your thoughts. Then we're going to bring you back and we'll start you on a different exercise where we can openly share your learnings or your cycling. We ready to go with those rooms? Let me just take you back. So the question is, what does terapunga look, sound, feel, taste, and smell like in your work? And we're going into this phase here. So you've already done the preparation. Now you're just taking off into terapunga, venturing into the unknown. All right, ready to go, B? In the chat, you would have seen a link come up. Could you please click on that? Now on that link, it'll show up once B sends it to me. It'll show up on a Slido. And we want you to put all of the words that you came up with and how terapunga applies in your work, what it feels like, what it tastes like, what it sounds like. Here we go. So we've got some people that have already put your kōrero in. It's exciting, it's chaos, turtle. It's calm, it's scary. We've got a few excitements. We've got a lot of chaos. Frustrating, absolutely. Messy, pausing, terrifying. Heck yeah. Silent. It sounds noisy. It sounds silent. Those are two really good contrasts. Unsure, apprehensive, sweet, and bitter. I'd love to hear, what does daring, could somebody speak to that? What does daring look like in your mahi, in this terapunga phase? Waiting, listening, lonely. All of that. Pivoting is a great one. Relationship, waiting, listening. Anybody else pick up that uphill? It tastes exciting. One of the words that came up in ours was it tastes bitter. Tastes salty. Tastes yuck. Thank you. Thank you for all of your kōrero. Thank you for being willing to delve into that space of what terapunga might look like in your work. One of the cool things that we did in our group was we started off with work, and then we actually used Hautu Waka or used terapunga as a way to frame up what we're going through with our tamariki. So also invite you, not now, but to use this practice as a way in different contexts, not necessarily just for work, but I also open this time for any questions. If you have any pressing questions or seek clarification on anything, please either unmute yourself or feel free to put this into the chat. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking about
I was interested around, Roy, around the whakarite, so the preparation piece, and you know, and who's in your waka, and you know, that sort of thing, and sometimes you don't get to choose everyone in your waka. So yeah, so I think that's something as well when you're preparing for your journey to, you know, to realize that perhaps you have different skills and different experiences, but perhaps people that aren't quite attuned with where you want to go.
This is right. And especially when we work in government organizations, there is a thought processing practice that was also employed, and it was called te aponga and te apaunga. So te aponga is around, like, what is the common goal that we're searching for here? I didn't necessarily choose you to be on my waka, but what is our common goal? And what is our common goal? Not necessarily what our project's common goal is. That's our aponga. And so our paunga is when we don't leave any stone unturned. So we look at our common goal, and then we look at the project common goal, and we figure out, okay, how ourselves ahead. That's the apaunga. The apaunga is how do we walk together, ensuring that we're all in one accord. I didn't choose you to be part of my crew, but where is our alignment so that we can be as one? We often find ourselves in that space. What context do you apply this model? I see a relationship in supporting whānau alongside them, but I can see this as design collaborative relationships. Any other context do you use this personally and professionally? Absolutely, thank you, Serena. I use Hautu Waka. I've been using it for a few years, but I didn't even know that I was using it as a way to help me think through how I raise my tamariki. So it's not just in a work context. Actually, some Talking Matters, they use it as an evaluation piece, because it's not necessarily just a one practice for a one thing. You can use it for everything. Once you get a grapple on what the states ask and what the states mean, you can work through that in any part of your life. It's not just for work. I hope that answered your question. Yeah. Thank you, Jordan. It talks to phases and growth, absolutely. Did I miss some other questions? Brooke, are you keeping an eye on that?
There's one up above, Roy, Megan talks about. I like how you talked about it being cyclical. I find this framework more relevant and useful than double diamond, dare I say. And Penny and I agreed with her.
There is maybe it was Hautu Waka that spoke about square thinking and spherical thinking. Square thinking isn't a bad thing, but it's two-dimensional. It sits flat, where it doesn't acknowledge the other pieces of the world that we live in, the sphere. And so spherical thinking, which is indigenous thinking, like getting you to attune to everything around you, that's spherical. So when we think about spherical, it's not a linear sequence thing, and that's what we have to get a grapple on. That's what we have to remember. Life isn't a linear process. We learn something, we fail, we get up and we keep going again. You jump back and forth into the phases. So thank you for your kōrero. But I think Hautu Waka was the one that spoke about spherical thinking. Kororia, John, te tātai tā.
First of all, kia ora, Roimata. This is amazing. I was saying that one of the things that I find is really useful in this is we're a smaller organisation we're expanding and growing, and we're trying to adopt more organisational structure. And I'm not at all, I'm lived experience, no tertiary qualification, not a clinician. I'm completely the opposite end. So, but I keep saying to my team that, you know, it's really important that our kaupapa is strong, because the tikanga will adapt minute, conversation to conversation. And we kind of got a little bit sidetracked away from the original task, because we were discussing how this is less of a framework and more of I felt that it was more guidance that had a spectrum, so it allowed to be adaptable and agile depending on the needs in the moment, and that kind of it's a guidance without being restricting, and the fluidity and adaptability and agility of it was really applicable in that space of bringing together someone with my background and the incredibly professional team I work with, and allowing us to work together in a way that's really fulfilling for all of us. So it was just an observation that I'd made that I thought I might share, because I really, really appreciate having another language to explain this in that I know we can all access. So ngā mihi nui, kia koe.
Tēnā koe, Claudia. One of the other things that we've also come to knowledge, you know, when you were talking about, Claudia, about you not having any formal any qualifications or something along that line. Actually, the ones who make the best paddlers are those, because we attune better. Sometimes in my work, I can't do the best that I can because I've got all the head knowledge, and that gets in the way. But when I work with whānau on the ground floor, they see things, they hear things, they feel things faster, fuller, deeper than I do. So it's me acknowledging my deficit in skill set isn't that I'm educated, it's that I can, you can pick up stuff better than I can. Do you remember when we had that te kitenga picture? And there were two. I had a perspective of what I saw and what I felt. And then on this other side, it was what my mate was seeing. And she saw something so much more full than I did. So it's the kōrero here isn't about qualified, unqualified. It's about acknowledging that everybody sees things differently, and that everybody can actually pick up a paddle and row and paddle. You don't want to row because you go backwards, but you want to paddle forward. Everybody can paddle, regardless of whether you're a baby or whether you're a korowa. Everybody can paddle.
I absolutely talk and agree with everything you're saying. I guess what this does is it provides a language that we all might be able to relate to, because you know, as much as everybody, I believe, has a gift, and everybody, of course, is capable of paddling, it's really works a lot better, I find, if they're all paddling in the same direction. And I've had that problem on wakas in the past. So this is incredibly useful, and it's such a gift. And someone said in our conversation in our breakout room earlier that one of her kuia said to her, you know, I may not, you know, why don't you go, she was being hassled, why don't you get your degree, get your degree, get your degree? And she said, what do I need a degree when I've got a pedigree? Right. And it's just that demonstration, that demonstration of the different gifts that we all bring. But I think guidance and spectrums like this model also allow us to further rebalance those power dynamics that often occur, you know, particularly as a lived experience advisor. I experience that stuff a lot, and to have a more unilateral approach to that is amazing. So kia ora, thank you so much for sharing this.
Tēnā koe. There's a question that's come through from Megan. Intuition responding has got to be a very important skill for this work. I think there is something missing though, and she's right. What if there is an agreement within the group of where to go? We had,
I think that's disagreement as well.
Yeah, disagreement. We had this on a project that we worked on. It was the very first project that I did with Southern Initiative. Is there anybody here from there, Baruch? Can you see? I'm just getting him to check in case I say something. So we were working on creating home. And what we were wanting to do was create better outcomes for whānau and manuriwa. So we were creating spaces for whānau to come and parent outside the home, because we had been told that we've been told that parents needed somewhere to go outside of the home to parent their tamariki. So naturally, and this was because their house wasn't safe, or their house was cold, or they were living with other people, so they couldn't parent their tamariki where they were living. So we approached some of the public facilities in Auckland Council, and we worked with them. And our common goal was to create these spaces. But as we were working toward that common goal, the waka got a bit kotiti, it got a bit shaky. And the shakiness happened because the people inside the waka didn't like the place that we were taking the waka to. They didn't like the fact that we were creating these spaces informed by whānau, not informed by the people that were doing the paddling. And so we had a few people that were chucking their paddle overboard, or we actually had a few jumping off. But the kotitiness, what's the word for kotiti? Unstable? This happened because people were chucking their paddles down and they didn't like where we were going. So what we had to do was we had to stop. We were fortunate enough to be able to stop and do a bit of purpose orientation. What's our overall goal? This is what I was talking about earlier about aponga and apaunga. What is our common goal? And you don't have to do it in whakariterite. You can do aponga and apaunga the whole way through, where you stop, reevaluate, realign your common purpose. And our common purpose, everyone bought into, everyone agreed to, that it was to create better outcomes for whānau and manurewa. Okay, so now we might just have to change the beat to which we're paddling. Not necessarily the purpose, just how we paddled. And fortunately, that also meant that people left our waka, people left the entire sea that we were on, but our waka kept going. That was one way that we did it, using aponga and apaunga, which is purpose alignment. Gosh, I hope that gave an example of what you could do. Good to see. Thank you. Thanks, Donna. Sometimes I get a bit stumped with that. Oh, great. And I think how are we doing for time, Baruch? Have we got some more time for questions?
Yeah, maybe one last question if someone would like to.
Is there any more
comment or just any reflections? This is your space, Whana.
I like that kōrero. Thank you, Ed. It gives ways for folks to open up to various realities by shared thinking and discussion. I'm just going through the chat again just to make sure that I haven't missed anything. The tension between being able to paddle the waka at the pace needed for those we serve and the deliverer answer outputs quickly. Oh my goodness. This is a reality that, who's K. Ross? Thank you so much for that question. That there definitely is a tension, especially when we work for government organisations. We have to create outputs, and we have to create outputs pretty quickly because we're being funded, But one of the blessings that we've been able to use Hautu Waka with is being able to get our lead team just to acknowledge that sometimes there is learning in the waiting, watching, listening, that there is mahi happening in the terapunga phase, because it's in that phase that as kaimahi, we feel so inept. We don't know where this project is going because I need an outcome. But let's just remember, that we're looking for outcomes in our brain, that our brain can conjure up. We're not looking for what is actually, we're not doing an environmental scan. We're not seeing the things that are happening outside of our sphere. Remembering that I've got people on my side that can see things as well. And one of the cool things that we've been able to do with Hautu Waka is to merge it with Niho Taniwha. And Niho Taniwha is the evaluation framework that was written up by Penny and her team. But Niho Taniwha helps us to track what we're seeing, and it gets us to write them down, to note them, so that we can use that as a, there you go, he's just put it into the chat, as a way to remember what we see. So when we're in Terapunga and we feel like crap, we actually write in our reflections, I felt like crap. But in feeling like crap, I saw this person making this decision, or I saw a mind shift in one of my partners, or they said that they'd be willing to meet with us. These are all learnings but we often forget to note down those tohu. So Niho Taniwha helps us to track what we learn, and Hautu Waka is helping us to learn to track. Our learnings.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you, Roy. I'll just pass it to Donna, I think.
Thank you, everybody.
Kia ora te whānau. I think we could carry on with many more conversations in pātai, but time is on us, so without further ado, tēnei te mihi ki a koe te mārei kura Roimata, e te whakamaunu o te kaupapa whakahirehira nei o Hautu Waka. Kua manini te waka i ngā wai kare, ko tau anō ki uta. So just very shortly, thank you, Roimata, for taking us all gathered here today on a journey of Hautu Waka, giving us a chance to stop and attune, an important tool, but oftentimes difficult with the busyness and craziness of balancing our whānau workloads, and even the current craziness due to the impact of COVID. The ability to stop, attune to self, your environment, and also to those around you, plus the many other learnings that Hautu Waka offer us. And for the shared journey together today, I really want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us, picking up the hoi or a paddle, and taking this journey of navigating complexity through the eyes of Hautu Waka. Thank you for the shared kōrero and for the insights and pātai shared in the chat. And also paraphrasing Penny's opening, I've been able to delve into the heart of equity with an eye on rebalancing with Aotearoa and recognising the cultural richness that we have. Hautu Waka is the first of many koha that we have shared, which allows us to roll back from the tools and techniques that we have and looking at the very foundation of our own individual practices by providing the space for like-minded people to convene, share and connect. And for this, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. So in saying that, we started with the karakia, so we're going to close with the karakia to keep ourselves safe out there. So in saying that, kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou arikia ihu karaiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whitinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, amene. Be safe out there, whānau, kia haumaru te haere.